Hey, Tom, welcome to this is our first show of 2025, which is crazy because we were being pretty consistent and regular, but we sort of fell off a bit over the holidays.
Holidays get busy. Yeah.
Holidays get super busy, and for me, almost the exact opposite of busy. I was more like so hyper focused on, you know, what was happening at work that I actually, now that I think about it, I actually went through my grandfather dying. That was a big part of it. And so like throughout December, it was after he died, right before Thanksgiving. And then I didn't do a whole lot until his service. And so I really sort of like cocooned and just focused on what I needed to focus on with work. But it was also kind of great because I was able to process that grief without having to put on a happy face everywhere and like, oh, everything's great, everything's fine. Like I could actually just allow myself to sort of go through that process without all that other stuff.
So sorry to hear about your grandfather.
Dude, that was a hard one for me. And it's interesting. I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but we had a podcast guest on. It was back in like the beginning of November, Christine, and we were talking about different things. And she was saying how people would talk to her or confide in her things. And I have a similar experience. I think that's that counselor in us that just invites people to communicate without a lot of evaluation. We're just safe people to talk to. And I was expressing to her how I felt that I'm doing a lot of personal work, have been, always will do, because, and not because of, but what I had noticed is like when I had been visiting my grandfather, he would talk to me about his childhood and like childhood trauma. They thought he was stupid because he didn't understand what was going on. In reality, he just needed glasses, but they didn't have like technology back then to realize it. So he suffered from this trauma of being called stupid his whole life. And once he got glasses, he realized he wasn't. But so he's replaying these stories to me, and he's like 96 years old. And I'm thinking, man, I mean, for that, you to still be like concerned about this stuff that happened as a child, like that trauma is real. And what Christine said to me is like, Angie, you're his person. You make him feel safe. So he's processing that trauma. Like that's why he brings it up when he sees you, because you're actually that person that helps him get through that. And that actually kind of made me cry. Like I was like, wow, I didn't realize, like that was the bond, but it totally makes sense because that had been it. So just a couple weeks after that, that's when I got the message that my grandfather was in the hospital. And I raced up there. And it was interesting, just to back up a little bit. I had my mom had called me. She said, your grandfather's in the hospital. I'll check on him throughout the night. I'll let you know. And I was on day 69 of 75 hard. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to get up first thing in the morning, get in my exercise, start with my water, get on the road. I'll be there in a few hours. He'd been in and out of the hospital, both my grandparents, a few times. So it wasn't like major red flag, but it was concerning. And so as I was out walking my dog and it's freezing that early in the morning, I see this little butterfly floating by and I'm like, that's kind of odd. It's so cold. Like this isn't the time of year where you see butterflies. And then my phone rings and my mom said, hey, you should get here right now. Your grandfather took a turn for the worse throughout the night. You need to get here. And so I got in my car and I got there in like 4 hours flat. Like that's pretty quick in in that distance, but everything just went smooth for me to get there as soon as I did. And by the time I got there, he had not regained consciousness. And so I spent some time with him. The whole family was there, and I wanted to spend some alone time, but the family was there. So I was like, I'm going to go check into my hotel. And that's what I did. When I checked in, it was interesting because they upgraded me in the hotel to a different floor in a different suite, same place I've stayed a million times. And I noticed when I got out on the floor, there was like butterflies all over the carpet. And I'm like, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. Check into my room, more butterflies. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm starting to see something here. So I decided to get up super early in the morning at like 4 in the morning and go over to the hospital because I knew I'd have some alone time with my grandfather, which is really what I wanted, to be able to express, my love and all the things with him. And also replaying what Christine had said. So when I got there, I started playing some of his favorite music, talking about his favorite times. I had this like tarot deck of like cards my friend had made, and I'm like, okay, Grandpa, let me just pull a card and see what it's telling me. And of course, it was a butterfly, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, what is the symbology of this butterfly that just is like permeating? And it was interesting because the meaning was letting go. And so I realized that was my purpose, was to help him let go. And kind of like how, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Okay.
Kind of like how Christina said, I was helping him process. I'm like, this is why he stayed alive, not just for me to get there, but for me to get there and be there by myself to sort of help him through this process. And so I talked with him and worked with him, and my grandma was about to be put in a situation where she would have to make a decision on taking the breathing tube out or not. And I knew she didn't want to make that decision. I mean, they've been married for 70 something years. Nobody wants to have to make that call. And the doctors kept asking me, like, what do you think? Do you want to do this? And I was like, that's not my decision to make. Like, I will, help, like, walk the family through it, but that's something that, is not mine. And I asked the doctor, I said, do you think, like, when they're in this in-between state, like, he's still alive, but he's not communicating, can he hear what I'm saying? And the doctor said, absolutely. In all my years, I believe that they are still here. They are still present. They hear everything that's going on. And so that was another, confirmation to me to continue to keep working with my grandfather. And that's what I did for the next couple hours, just talking with him and replaying things and really validating him on his life, more or less. But then I was like, oh, the family's going to be here. And I said, look, Grandpa, if and I'm talking to him like he's answering me, the whole family's going to be here. And wouldn't it be great for you to be able to pass in this place when all your family's here? We got you, you're safe, you're going to be okay. And, I believe in reincarnation. So I was almost sort of also encouraging him to like go find a great new baby, new life, like go have a good life. You had like kind of a hard life. Like, you deserve a good life. Like, find a good family, like something where you're gonna be acknowledged and validated and all the things. And so anyway, all the family starts showing up and they're all just talking with each other. And I look and I'm like, oh wow, it's 10:30. Like, Price is Right is on. Me and my grandpa always watched Price is Right together, after he retired and as I was growing up. And so I turned on the Price is Right and everybody was chatting, and the nurse comes back in and she looks at me and she's like, wow, your grandfather passed peacefully right here. He transitioned. And I was like, wait, right now? Like, while we were all sitting here, like nobody noticed. But at the same time, that was kind of the beauty of it, because it was so easy and smooth. It just felt like really right. And so for me, it was like interesting because I believe that I helped him transition, which is, it's weird. Part of me starts to feel guilty. Like, should I have not done that? Like, maybe he wanted to live another 5 years, but at the same time, like in your heart, it's the right way. It is what it is. He was 96. He had sepsis. He was not in his best. His quality of life would have been awful. And so it was really cool to see him sort of passing on his terms with everyone there. Mm-hmm. Still makes me super sad. But so anyway, after that, like, I spent the next month just sort of grieving that because my family also asked, hey, will you speak for him at his funeral? And so I had about a month to prepare for that because I wanted my kids to come out and be part of the process and all that. So that's kind of like what I spent my December doing, was sort of processing that while I had a really big project going on with work that I was overseeing and ensuring like everything went good. But it was a weird December for me, but all in all, I mean, everything ended up turning out great and exactly the way it should be. But what a beautiful and weird ending to 2024 for me. So needless to say, happy when 2025 came. I was still like a little PTSD-ish shocked because of everything that we'd went through, and it's been a rough many years. And so it's interesting as we roll into 2025, and I achieved this really big thing with work, and I was able to acknowledge my grandfather. I was still kind of like messed up because just because good things happen or whatever, you can't just flip a switch and all of a sudden everything's great now. Like I can go on with life and everything's fine. There's like these lingering effects, even when things are going better, because of what I just came out of.
Mhm.
That was a lot. We didn't know we'd be talking about that today, Tom.
That's okay. That's such an incredible story with the butterfly and just the connection there and how that all kind of unfolded is like so powerful. And you have an amazing perspective and awareness to where you do notice things like that. I think a lot of people miss out on those like those signs or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
sometimes I think I'm a little crazy, and I'll even ask you that. Like, I know I seem a little crazy. You're like, you don't seem crazy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I feel like I sound a little crazy, but there is magic everywhere and there is signs everywhere. We just have to learn how to look and acknowledge and feel them.
yeah, and I think and you're in tune with noticing, right? Like a lot of people are, they're wrapped up in something else. And, you'll take note, like, weird, that's a butterfly flying in the winter. And then, oh, there's another butterfly. And then the tarot card.
Jeez, right? And then the meaning behind the tarot card, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
fuck.
yeah. And if it didn't, yeah, it's like if the butterfly didn't mean anything, then that tarot card wouldn't have come up, right? And that just like validates it for sure.
Yeah.
And that just the power of just how much you comforted your grandfather, how comfortable he felt with you to where, he wanted to talk to you. And yeah, we you know, as counselors, and I think it has to do with authenticity
Mm,
when, people that have done work on themselves, put off a different energy and I think we pick up on that somehow. Certain, um, I don't know how, but you know, yeah, people do come to uh, people like us, in the profession, counselors, therapists, and they just feel like they can open up and talk. So, yeah, so sorry for your loss, and it's an incredible story, just with the signs and the things that you pointed out, and yeah, it's beautiful in a way. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I remember when so previous to my grandfather, 4 years ago, almost same month, and I was on day 68 of 75 hard. So I'm seeing a theme here as well. I've found my kryptonite, but my dog, who I'd had for 15 years, Vader, he had been diagnosed early in 2020. They wanted me to put him down, and it didn't feel right for me. I felt like there was still life in there and purpose, and I just and if I did put him down because of COVID, they were like, you can't be in there with him. And I thought, that's a terrible way. Like, I would never want that. I've been his master, like my best friend for 15 years. I don't like that. And so I didn't do it. And I was really glad because he lived another 11 months, but it was December of 2020. And I was on day 65 of 75 hard. And I could tell he was ready to pass. And Daniel had looked at me. He's like, "How long are you going to watch him suffer like this? Like he's. You can see he's ready." And I was like, "Man, I don't want my dog suffering. Like that doesn't feel right either." So I had arranged for one of those in-home people to come and help him pass peacefully while we were there. I had set that up, but that night I just sort of picked him up and I was holding him, and he looked at me, and I could like perceive what he was saying. Same thing. I'm like, "You're safe. I got you." And he passed in my arms. And so it's like this weird thing where it's like super beautiful, but also really sad. But like at the same time, you feel pretty honored because they trust you to be able to go to their next space. So yeah, I mean, God, I hope I'm not like the angel of death or anything. But if you feel like you want to pass, just give me a call. Like, I'm going to help you through it. I might cry the whole time, but that's I will help you through it. But it's such a like nicer way to view death, as it is part of life. It is part of the circle of life. And wouldn't it be cool if we could all pass in a way that was with dignity and with the people we love, in a way that honored them and they felt like really seen and loved by the ones that they're with.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. You know,
Yeah.
to be like that comfortable of a person for people to where they feel like as though they can just let go there.
Yeah.
But like honor, I guess, too, because you can share less moments with individuals.
Yeah.
What day
Yeah.
did you say you were on? Um, what day of 75 hard were you on when you went to Reno?
Oh, so I was on day
Got
69 and I had full intentions of completing it. But then like on the drive up there, I'm like, I have to get there quick. So I'm not drinking a ton of water. Then after I get to the hospital, I was just, that it just wasn't right. And so I pulled myself off of it. Just like when Vader died, I like, it was a conscious choice to not complete, which is crazy because you're so close. And so then I have that mental thing telling me like, don't be a pussy. You're so close to the end. Just finish hard. Like but then there's the other part of me that almost felt like I would be dishonoring the people, like my grandfather or the dog, where I'm like, no, this is more important for
right.
me.
Take the time and respect them and
Yeah,
get
yeah,
out
it
of your
felt
own.
more right. Exactly. Um,
The one more symbol that you're on day 69 of 75 hard, and your grandfather was 96.
ooh,
So the numbers.
yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I just noticed that. That's why I asked. It's like, did she say she was on day 69? And I was
Yeah.
like double checking. Uh, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Jeez, I hadn't even put that one together. We'll have to look at that one.
Yeah, I think about that.
I mean, okay, I was on day 65 and Vader was 15. 5 plus 1 is 6. So you never know. There might be
Oh,
something to this whole thing.
I was like a little, I didn't want to go there, but my mind went there and I was like, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I didn't want to. But really? Five?
Yes,
Yeah.
Tom, you're starting to
Uh,
think like me. Exactly. Like it's all synchronicity.
Numbers are trippy. Yeah.
They really are. They really are. Yeah. Yeah. So needless to say, I didn't like snap back right at the beginning of January, like new year, new everything. It's just still taken me a while to sort of process, everything, and also just grateful that I've had the time to be able to do that. But it's interesting because, with that, maybe it has to do with it being cold. Like I just like cold. I just want to stay in my hot bed. I don't want to work out twice a day. I don't even want to work out once a day. And I definitely don't want to drink water because that makes my whole body cold. And so like I'm going through this like fight to sort of reignite that fire again, with me being super active and super disciplined and doing all the things. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty coming out of that cocoon, more or less.
Hmm. I don't blame
So
you. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, it is cold and that's a lot to go through. It's a big loss. And I know you've been dealing with a lot of other stuff with work and it sounds like you're getting ready to get back into it though. You're right
Am I?
there. Yeah,
Am
I
I?
feel like it.
Are you sure? Because I might need like an intervention to come fucking help me get. No, I mean I worked out yesterday.
Oh, you did.
You know, worked out with the clients. Yes, I walk every day, so it's not like I'm just like holed up in my house, like just living in my bed. I'm considered compared to your normal person. I'm still very active, but like in my mind, I'm not. You know, in the gym
Pushing.
every day. I'm not doing the things that I have done in the past. So, that you know, and you know that can also play a number on your head as well. When you're used to being super active and you're not as active, we can start to feel like depression and all the different things that go with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you get an injury, you feel like you're just going backwards, all the progress you made, if you're, you know, whether that progress is, yeah, the way you look in the mirror or, how many pounds you can move on the bar or how many days in a row you work out and stick with your routine. I think you
Yeah.
did yeah, I think that's the right gesture though. Like, I'm sure like 75 hard. It's like about being hard and finishing, but major loss. I think that was only right that you just stopped and allowed yourself to kind of feel all that. Because I think otherwise, if you kept pushing, who knows what gets stuffed, right? Kind of emotion
Right.
stuffed, and who knows when they'll come out, or or if they don't and turn into something else really bad inside your body, maybe,
Mm.
so
I agree with you.
wanted to
Yeah, and
validate
there's
your
no time limit on it. Like it's not like okay, you had your 30 days, you're good to go now. Like there's no
no,
definitive answer with that. It just kind of like takes as long as it takes, sort of thing.
yeah, and I think yeah, talking about it's great. Um,
Yeah. Some things that really help though, I've well, as you know, I already did this, but I've done more of it is just grounding, you know, taking off my shoes, going down, walking on the beach with the dogs and watching the sunset because you taught me that that's
but,
like that was like the OG. That's the original red light therapy is a
yeah,
sunset. And so being able, you know, very fortunate where we live, we have magnificent sunsets. So being able to go down there and witness the sunsets and put my feet in the sand and just you know have that time to do that while exercising and getting the fresh air and the vitamin D and all that. It's been really nice to allow myself, not allow myself because I do it even when I'm on 75 hard, but to remember to go do that when I really just want to be in bed. It's like luckily I have this dog Sid that's a maniac where he will not allow me to just stay in bed all day. We have to walk at least 3 times and it has to be multiple hours or he destroys all my things. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing that I have that kid because he forces me to go out on many occasions when I don't want to, and I'm always grateful that I do.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, what a little gift he is then for you right now. Get you, yeah, because of being in bed, I mean, sure, it feels good and whatnot, but I think sometimes it's hard to like, yeah, get up and move and moving sometimes is just, yeah, the best thing for us, right? And getting
Yeah.
some sun. And it's yeah, that's such like a great healing environment with, you being so close to the beach and, having your little furry friends and you get to go hang out with them and ground and listen to the ocean. Yeah, and take in the sun. Such a good
uh,
spot. Yeah, it's such a good, yeah, good environment to heal, right?
for
Heal
sure.
from heal from that loss. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Even last week, you know, I did one of these like, ah, man, I'm kind of struggling. I just need a sign. I need a sign of something, you know, better coming, you know, whatever it is. And of course, going down to the beach, and I told you about all my beach signs and whatnot. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen animals down here in a like really long time. Like, and I don't mean like other people's dogs or stuff. Like, and I see birds, but like you know, in the ocean, I'm by this ocean, and I haven't seen any ocean animals. But then I'm like, but it's also December and winter, so maybe that's normal. And sure enough, I'm down there and I see bloop. I'm like, no way. And then more. And so I just saw pods of dolphins, which are not typical this time of year, but I saw multiple pods of dolphins last week, which was absolutely, it's just magical. Dolphins are so cool. But again, it's just like another one of those, you need this, here you go. We're going to let you have that sign and see the dolphins. And that always makes me feel better as well.
Yeah, for some reason, when I see dolphins, I get excited too. I'm like, oh, nice.
They're the best.
Super excited. Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
they're the
I don't know
best.
what
They're
it is.
playful. They have personalities. They're super smart. They're like,
Yeah,
yeah, they are funny, but they're also so cool to watch too.
I guess, yeah, growing up surfing a little bit, anytime you saw a dolphin, you knew you were safe. There's like no sharks, right?
Oh, yeah,
Because
that totally makes sense.
they'll keep you safe.
Yeah,
They ram the sharks with their nose, I guess. In the shark's nose, I think. I think that's how they do it.
yeah, and they have that whole safety in numbers thing because they
Yeah,
do
that too.
travel in pods, and I think you're right. Like sharks are kind of like solo,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, dang, look at those dolphins. We love them.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I always looked at them as like a sign of safety, like you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, like things are gonna be all right, kind of a thing.
There you go. That was the perfect message for me. I
It
just
was,
wish that water was warmer. I want to just go swim with them, but that freaking water out here, it is so cold. That really kind of bums me out. That's the only thing that sucks about living here. I mean, I've got the ocean, I'm not complaining, but it's so cold. I can't be out there frolicking like as if I was in Mexico or Hawaii. It's just watching them from a distance.
yeah, you really gotta brace for that ocean. Really, you gotta get psyched up, get in
Yeah.
there. Like going
Yeah.
for like a PR or something, you know, one rep
Yeah.
max. It's like, oh boy, here we go.
Totally. Totally.
And yeah, you just gotta
Wetsuits help
jump
though,
in.
right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot, a lot. They significantly help.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not, putting on a wetsuit and just going out there by myself. I've learned my lesson about going out into the ocean by myself. I'm not doing that one again.
Yeah, you had that rough experience in Hawaii.
Couple of years ago. Again,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 years ago, December, man. I don't know, something about Decembers. I need to just like be gone for the month of December. There's something about Decembers that's it's actually not awful. It's just endings, a lot of endings.
Been
But
a couple
it's
rough.
exciting because there's new beginnings.
Yeah, new beginnings. Exactly. Um, well, I'm happy you're having a month to kind of rebound from that big loss, and and
Yeah.
it's a big that losing your grandfather or grandparents is a big thing. And thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just not looking forward to when my grandmother goes. I mean, that's just going to be a whole nother level. She's also 96. So, at some point in the next 20 years, that's probably going to happen. But kind of like what I told her is like, okay, grandma, like the deal was you and grandpa were supposed to live to 100. He only made it to 96. So you got to pick up his four. So I need you to at least 104.
I knew that's where you were going with it.
Hey man, whatever I can do.
You gotta pick up those 4 years.
Yeah, that's on you, Grandma. Well, and her being a good Catholic, there is that obligation, right? Like she probably feels like she has to do that. And not that I'm trying to make her feel bad or guilty or you have to do something, but also for her, I know it was a significant loss. Obviously, they were married like 70 something years. But I think also now she can kind of like relax because, he was a lot of work the last few years. And hopefully now she can sort of catch up on her sleep and take care of herself and get some self-care in there where she had been so selfless prior. Hopefully now she can really maximize on that.
Mhm. I hope so. That's I like how you tried to motivate her to live longer, though. That's
By guilting her. Yeah, it was
yeah.
great. Yeah, Catholic guilt, man. I'm going to use it
Try
right
to
against her. No, for her.
make it a game.
Well, I mean, she's like a medical miracle. The fact that she's even still alive, she had an aneurysm and she's had a quadruple bypass surgery. So both of those require medications that contradict each other. So like the aneurysm needs to thin the blood, but the heart needs to have the thickening of the blood. So she's, and I don't even know how they've been able to finesse this to keep her alive, but she is a living, literal, walking
Wow.
miracle. Yeah, so all the time we have with her is a blessing, for sure. But I also feeling pretty great with those genes between the two of them, that at least genetically, I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll live a long time as well.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope so. Hope we all do.
Hey, with today's like modern medicine and everything that's becoming available to us, I see life expectancies going way up.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so. And I think we've kind of taking a turn medically right now. And that might be huge for us
Yeah.
as far as like the advancements and uh, in medical technology. And, there's been a lot of talk about certain things being censored or kept from your day-to-day person like you and me. And
Mhm.
so hopefully we break through with that kind of stuff. Like I heard something really crazy about ivermectin and how that it can cure cancer the other day. Uh,
Damn.
yeah, and like a really powerful way to cure cancer.
And I would be surprised if they let that out, because there is so much money in cancer. Like they don't.
Right. I saw ivermectin on Instagram being sold as a supplement today. I was like,
Yeah.
what? I
Yeah.
didn't think it was like I just thought you had to have a prescription for that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Well, I do believe it's a dawn of a different time, like because of whatever's happening with the exposure of pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies, and then the FDA and the food. If we really attack like all three of those, like, could you imagine, like right now, holistic doctors, you have to come out of pocket. Your insurance doesn't cover them. They won't mess with insurance because they have certain protocols they would have to abide to. And so, like, to get really a lot of good quality care that's not just medicine driven, you have to pay for that.
mhm.
Blood tests, all that kind of stuff. So, hopefully, like with this new push and this new change, like, wouldn't it be great if like our insurance covered acupuncture or all the different kinds of cryotherapy or all the different kinds of things that are going to help us live longer and less need that system? If they were to like pay for that, or let us use our insurance for that, they would have less medical problems down the road, and we'd all live longer, healthier. Our insurance is going to where we want it to go to, not where they're saying it has to go to. It could
Right.
be like a dawn of a whole new era of health and well-being for all of us.
That would be amazing. Yeah. And I guess, yeah, like some of those longevity experts think we could live to like 200.
What?
They think we can, but no one's done it, obviously.
That we know about.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
Um,
I read a lot of these like Far East books, like old ones, like were written in the early 1900s and stuff, and a lot of them reference like yogis or people in these far places that are that old. Um, but they're just not on social media or any of that kind of stuff, so people don't know about it, and that's probably why they've lived that long, because there's no outside exposure to the fact that they're just
lesser,
doing their thing, and nobody's noticing.
yeah, they're just in their little world. And it's kept them alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think social media is going to help us live longer, though. That's for sure.
Absolutely not.
Maybe that's the secret.
Just cut it
But
all off. Yeah, let's do it. I know I'm less and less inclined to be on it, just because I mean, just even from like a PR perspective, posting every day, sharing likes, dislikes, it's just so stressful. And it's like, do I really need to do all this? Is this part of the key to success or human existence? Is this constant feeding of the social media machine?
right. Um, something to question for sure. If it's worth all the stress,
Right.
the pressure and um yeah, and like
Yeah.
kind of like crazy ideas and restrictions that we put on ourselves or on our life to kind of fulfill uh that machine of content, putting out content,
Yeah.
and like that's like a representation of our identity or of how much we can do or how successful we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
How does that play with you? Because you're really good about filming, like you're lifting and uploading it and music, and you really are great with the creativity of that, and not for any purpose other than just doing that.
I just like I feel proud, on some of my lifts and my progress and I got kind of I'm in a pretty small town and I've known a lot of people over the years and you just kind of want to show people what you're up to and I like to show like yeah, like I'm pumped. I did this, like I did this today.
I love that.
I'm getting after it.
Yeah. Did
I
you did you film your PR that you got this week?
don't no, I didn't.
What? That wasn't on film?
Dude, if unless I'm like it just is the right has to be the right moment. I've set up the camera and then I just I lose my edge, you know, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like you start thinking about those logistics and like, oh, I want to get the shot and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like I feel my body just like let go of the intensity that was built up,
Yep.
So I kind of have to go into it like I'm filming this session, and I'll set up like a camera or sometimes, it just depends on like the vibe. Sometimes we like some of the people that are in the gym will just like start filming, and without even asking,
Oh,
which is nice sometimes, because they know like, oh, this is like a heavy attempt and Tommy might want this video or
nice.
something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but yeah, I don't know. Um, I go through spurts where like I'll be filming. I'll feel like I'm like moving good,
Yeah.
but I try not to put too much thought into it. I have experience editing, a little
Yep.
bit. I've played around with that, and so sometimes that can be kind of fun and creative, but I don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's your thing, right? Like film, music, editing, like it's perfect for what you're doing. Whereas I hate that stuff. I don't like to even look at myself, let alone edit or do any of that stuff. I'm just like, you guys go do that. I'm just gonna film it and never watch it again.
that for me, yeah, yeah, it's definitely it can be fun in small doses, but like, if you start doing it all the time, it just becomes work. And you just, I bet a lot of those content creators really start to get, yeah, sick of it, right? It just
Right.
becomes work. And kind of like what you're talking about, right? Where it's like, just keep feeding the algorithm. And is this
Yeah.
what I'm really supposed to be doing? You know?
Yeah, and it starts to kill your creativity because it's more of like, a metric and you got to keep up with it. And if you don't feed it, then you're dropping your ranks and you do this and that. It's like, for me, that's just like contra creativity. It doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah. It like if you have a post that doesn't do well or something, right?
Mm,
That just,
hmm.
that just like hurts the creativity, and sometimes I've had like a little like weightlifting video that I posted on, my personal Instagram and, it'll like do really well. And then other times, it feels like no, no one sees it. It just doesn't like catch the algorithm or for
Yep.
the time of day or I don't really know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of factors. Everyone's trying to figure it out, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
how do you get out there,
Yeah.
make a name for yourself? How do you catch the algorithm right? And
Right.
and have it just start kind of like hitting the lottery, right? I had
Well, and the way they're set up is as soon as you figure it out, they change it because they don't want you to figure it out. They want you to spend all your time and money trying to figure it out. So yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
all
it's a
you have to.
interesting game.
Yeah, I've had only one video that I posted. It was me running with a plate, like sprinting, and I was like, oh, like didn't really put a whole lot of thought into like the video or the edit. And I looked down, I was like, oh my gosh, I have like 14,000 like views. Like it just hit the algorithm and just took off.
Wow.
But that's the only time it's ever happened. It was so
Did you have like special hashtagging in there or anything like? Yeah, no.
nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that
Yeah.
I normally do. It
Yeah.
could have been because it was like a competition environment, so there was like other people, like
Uh,
like certain settings, I guess maybe are a little more interesting. Like
yeah.
just
Yeah,
yeah,
I've had one too, just one, and it was actually a reshare of. It was just a funny meme of someone like I don't know what they were doing, but they were showing off their new shoes, and it was like me coming into the gym with my new shoes. It was like an animal or something, and that thing hit viral, and I'm like, wait, what, really? And then we tried to replicate that over and over, and how do we do that, and what do we do, and what did we tag? Could never figure out how or why that one was like so special, and never been able to do it again.
yeah, and then they got you chasing it.
Ah, I know.
Like they give
I
us this
know.
like one like here's one little taste of what
Yeah.
it could be
Yeah.
like to just have like a but then you think about like why do I even care? You know, like what's like
Right.
what does this even mean? Like what does this mean? Like if
Yeah.
I guess it's like a status symbol and that sometimes it's like getting like a pair of I don't know, not nice clothes or something, you know?
Well, for me, I'm always wanting it to hit because then that brings attention to elevate, which hopefully brings us more clients, which, so there's, for me, that's been my motivation on it is just to try to get elevate out there. But again, it's so frustrating because you could do all the quote unquote right things. And I had 2 views. I have 1 like. It's like, what the hell else can I do here? And then you're just like the victim to marketing people who all claim that they have the magic pill, and then you figure out they don't. You just spent all this money to get out there, and oh yeah, it's something.